But yeah, I mean, I could sit here and talk about SmackDown, but no one really cares because it sucks, as we know. What I really do want to just bring it to one, bring everyone's attention to one thing. Um, Jeff Hardy does an interview. Okay. Of course, after a long package recapping everything that him and Sheamus have been doing, like we got to sit through all that one more time and then listen to this Jeff Hardy interview where they're asking him these fake questions about, everything he's doing. And so there's a point where Jeff Hardy is basically just talking about everything. And at some point he says, I guess you could say the struggle is real. That's what Jeff Hardy says. So I know that, when a couple weeks ago we were talking about how we're not going to get political on here, and I guess I'm not necessarily, but because this is wrestling related and it ties into things that are happening in the world, at the risk of sounding political, I'm just going to say it anyway. Jeff Hardy, okay? The struggle is real, Jeff Hardy. Fuck you. The struggle is exactly what people are out there protesting about right now. Your life is the exact opposite of the struggle, because no matter how much you fuck up, you keep getting chances. Okay? For all the people that have trouble understanding or don't like hearing the term white privilege because you don't get it, Jeff Hardy is like a poster boy for what we would call white privilege, because no matter what, he gets to have everything handed to him regardless of his situation. Let's go through a little history lesson for Jeff Hardy. I won't even start at the beginning. We'll just start from 2003. So 17 years ago. Okay. Jeff Hardy was released from WWE. And the reasons were something to do with being on drugs all the time and erratic behavior and being repeatedly late and or not no showing events entirely. So they finally had to let him go. So, of course, what does he do? He goes to TNA. In 2005, TNA suspended Jeff Hardy for no showing the pay-per-view Hard Justice. And then again, he no showed Turning Point. And then in June of 2006, he was released. He was released in June 2006 from TNA. But don't worry, Serge, don't worry. By October, he's back in the WWE and he's the Intercontinental Champion. So, that's cool.
How much merchandise does this guy sell?
Well, it must be something, because everybody loves Jeff Hardy, right? Who wouldn't love a guy that wears pantyhose and makeup and jumps off of stuff, or falls off of stuff? 2008, wellness violation and suspension. And that happens in March. By December, he's the WWE champ. The WWE champ. Yeah, the spinner belt. That the main championship. They don't just give to everybody. It only took him a few months, so he bounced back. In 2009, he won the World Heavyweight Championship a couple times. Then he went to go take some time off. And somewhere during that time off, he was charged with 5 felony counts of trafficking and possession. Okay. This is when they raided his house and found like all those steroids, prescription pills, all this other stuff. And,
Wait, they really found steroids in his home?
Yes.
Holy shit.
You didn't know about this? You don't remember this?
I didn't know about this. Well, I'm surprised about the steroids. I mean, he's never really had a physique. So I think that's funny.
Well, whatever. But I do remember whatever physique he has.
But that's right after his title run where he was feuding with Punk, right? Because they ended up having some real beef. You can even YouTube it. There's a video on YouTube where Jeff and Matt are like really fucked up at a Waffle House, and they're cutting a shoot promo. You ever seen that video?
Maybe, Jeff, probably not.
Yeah, they're shooting on CM Punk like for real, and but they're just messed up on pills or something. Man.
Yeah. So just to let everybody know, I remembered a lot of these incidents, but I went back and researched it just to get all my facts straight in order so I could present it. So I didn't keep a itemized list of all of Jeff Hardy's transgressions, but I did go back and just to make it clear, to make my point. Okay. So again, let me just repeat that. They charged him with 5 felonies. Okay. Felonies for his drug possession. And they said, his intent to traffic, but I'm sure he wasn't trafficking those drugs. I'm sure he was going to use them all. Do you know what it took 2 years, but he finally got a sentence for this. Okay. Do you know what his sentence was?
I'll give you probation.
Probation for 5 felonies. You know what he served?
What?
10 days in jail.
Wow.
Jail, not prison. Jail. 10 days. Okay.
The judge must be a Hardy Boy fan.
Well, I mean, he was arrested. If his home was raided and he lives in North Carolina, obviously he's going to go to trial there. So you do the math. But regardless, 10 days in jail for Jeff Hardy. So that's okay, because back in 2010, he's back in TNA and he wins their world title by November, and everything's cool. Oh, except for that one time when he was fucked up for a pay-per-view match with Sting, and they cut the match down to 90 seconds. Remember that?
Oh yeah. Well, I remember too. Sting hits him with a finisher, pins him 1, 2, 3, and then Jeff no-sells it and gets up.
Yeah. So the story was that, backstage, Jeff Hardy was fucked up, and right before he was getting ready to go out there, Eric Bischoff saw him and was like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And then he's like, they had a pay-per-view match to deliver, so I guess they just ended it quick. But he was in no condition to. Now, keep in mind, this is like one instance. These are the instances that we know of. These are the documented instances. I'm sure there's plenty other times he showed up. And I know they had like long taping days and stuff where they would tape lots of TV at once, or whatever. So it's probably going to make you want to get fucked up having to sit around the TNA all day. But that's no excuse. So that's all right though, because he's back in August of 2011, and maybe he's not so privileged after all, because it only took him till the following October to be the champ again. So from August 2011 to October 2012, he wasn't the TNA champion, but he got it back. And then I guess, he had kind of a nice run there for a while, a few years. And I couldn't really find any issues. So he's back to the WWE in 2017. We all know that. He came out at WrestleMania as a surprise. Hardys are back, win the tag team championships, all this other stuff. 2018, misdemeanor DWI. 2019, public intoxication. You know that if you're publicly intoxicated in the state of North Carolina, you can get up to 30 days in jail just for being drunk in public.
Well, that's harsh.
Or 3 times what he spent 10 years ago for those 5 felony counts of possession. And 3 months later, he gets another DWI. Okay. So,
do you know, did it state what he was under the influence on or of?
No, that's why it's DWI, because that covers all drugs. Like if you're impaired, I guess. So I don't know, but we know that he's had alcohol problems before. So, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. So these are the times that he was caught. Who knows how many times he'd been driving drunk or intoxicated or under the influence of whatever he's under. But this is Jeff Hardy's, this has been Jeff Hardy's last 15, 17 years that I've been covering here. All these things, that I'm talking about. And it seems like, go ahead.
Yeah, I knew he had quite the history, but when you laid it out like that, it's almost, I'm kind of astonished. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. And not only that, like, it's not just that he's doing that, but he's working on top. Like he's still, you know what I'm saying? Like, mm-hmm. he's in, he fucking wins the WWE championship months after a wellness violation. And you know how they like to punish people there. But that's what I'm saying. Like this guy, no matter what he does, this we're talking about the last DWI we're talking about. I said 3 months later. If you want to look at it another way, it was 8 months ago from today. He got a DWI, and he's just sitting here, and he's in a more high profile thing with Sheamus, and it's just like it's just a matter of time. He gets as many chances as he wants. Okay, how many times has Bobby Lashley been the WWE champion?
I don't know. I know he's ECW champion. Maybe never.
That's right. That's correct, Sergio. Never. Now let's look at Bobby Lashley's rap sheet. Nothing. Let's look at Bobby Lashley himself. Look at him. Okay, he looks like that. He's built like that. All the steroids that Bobby Lashley is in possession of are inside his body. Okay, so he's fine there. He's a decorated amateur wrestler. Not decorated. He's a successful MMA fighter. He served our country as a member of the armed forces. I believe he was an Army Ranger, even maybe. So we're talking about a guy that's done nothing but good things, and he's constantly improved since the day that he's got in there. He's got in the business back in 2005, and he's leveled up every day since then to now, where he could be considered a legitimate main eventer. He's way better on the microphone than he was when he started. His matches are better. Everything about him is better. But he's not getting Jeff Hardy title runs. So nope. When people say white privilege, that's the kind of stuff they're talking about. And it may be annoying to hear it from people sometimes. And I'm not going to argue that the type of people that say that can be annoying. But just because somebody's annoying doesn't mean they're not right. And this is just an example. So for anybody that doesn't get it, this is an example of how, even in a business where you'd think it's a meritocracy, or it's not a meritocracy, they still keep giving Jeff Hardy things, and it doesn't matter. Like he can get a wellness violation and embarrass the company, or and then be the WWE champ later. Or you could be Titus O'Neil and grab Vince McMahon by the elbow and get suspended for 30 days. It's like, I mean, so when Jeff Hardy says the struggle is real, fuck you. All the struggles are your own. They're your own struggles, and people still reward you for struggling. What a piece of shit. And he's got I've never been a fan of Jeff Hardy. It's no secret to anybody that knows me. Like, I've never been a fan of Jeff Hardy. But I don't like hate Jeff Hardy or anything. I don't even hate him for saying the struggle is real, because for all I know, that could just been some writer that wrote that. And he just like, okay, even though if I want to give him credit, he should have said, I can't say that, man. That shit don't apply to me. He should have said that. But no. Yeah. So you said it on TV, so I'm coming after you. Yeah, you have no struggle. You're the opposite of the struggle. I know that's a phrase that's co-opted by a lot of young white kids to joke around and stuff like that, but it used to mean something. And it used to mean what all these people are in the streets protesting right now, because they're struggling and they're having a hard time. You are not a hard time. You're just a degenerate. So, and probably a future once again Universal champion. So,
yeah, I think I'd be surprised, but maybe not.
Yeah. So,